Hey guys, Bart here. 4th of July in Indiana. Yeah, IFR conditions, low ceilings. So I figured, what the heck, I'm just gonna wash the airplane and wax it. And it was a bad decision in retrospect. What a back-breaking labor that is. But it's rewarding, I guess, because the airplane looks starting to look pretty good. Especially that I just returned from a very long cross country all the way to California, up the coast and back, so the airplane was filthy. But performed flawlessly. True testament to the Beech quality. I have gotten a very overwhelmingly positive response on the first video that I did, quick and dirty on the initial impression of my A36. So I figured I am going to give a follow-up, and rather than doing a in-flight video, I'm not that great of a pilot, so I don't think I have that much to contribute. I figured I'll show you what kind of things I've learned from the Bonanza Beech clinic that I went to, last month at Poplar Grove Airmotive. First of all, I felt like it was the best $300 that I've spent in aviation since ever, because the knowledge that I've gained in this clinic was invaluable. So I'm going to show you what kind of things they found. I am very relieved to say that they really haven't found anything that just cannot wait till the annual. So in other words, no airworthiness items, small things, relatively inexpensive things that I need to address, relatively, obviously, in aviation terms. But again, nothing that I thought, oh crap, man, I should have caught that on a pre-purchase inspection, because this is going to cost me a lot of money to fix. So let's just get started. I'm going to show you a few things that they showed to me, and I had no idea about, during the pre-purchase, neither the mechanic nor I have found those. And no particular order of importance, if you will. I'm just going to do a walkthrough through the airplane and show you so that you can check your airplane and make sure that those things are also corrected. So first thing, by the way, there was a Continental engine representative there, so he gave me a lot of good advice about the Continental. So overall, it was just an excellent trip, and Curtis Bulwer, who was the inspector on this airplane, really took the time, let me actually videotape the whole process. I can kind of see it later for myself and view it again, and actually took my wife with me, and she actually enjoyed it too, because you know, she really enjoyed that aspect of it when he mentioned that I am spending the money wisely on aviation, because I said I just bought an engine analyzer, and I made sure she heard that. So anyway, to the engine compartment. First of all, the Continental guy said that it would be better if these spark plug wires were routed on top here as opposed to underneath it, because in his opinion, they get into the airflow. So that's one item maybe I'll have corrected, is just basically reroute them so they sit a little higher. There's a lot of room, as you can see, and maybe that will improve the cooling of the engine a little bit. So that was one. Second thing, there's a inlet to the alternator for cooling. This is called, and then to that inlet there is a piece of tubing connected called air blast tubing or something like that. Well, guess what? This thing wasn't there. It was gone. There was a hole cut out here in the baffle, but there was no tubing, nothing. So I had that already put in even before I went to my California trip, because I figured I just want my alternator to cool properly. Cheap fix. Let's see. Performance Aero sells these things. They're not expensive, and it takes 10 minutes to put them in. Helps if you have skinny hands to shove them in there, and your mechanic can do it without taking any of the alternator or anything like that. So that thing was completely gone. I didn't even realize it. I was new to Beeches that there's supposed to be something attached. I thought that there's supposed to be just an air inlet to the alternator, and there really wasn't anything there. So that's another tip. Next, let's see. You know, one thing that they do, which you really cannot do it yourself, and even your mechanic might not have the right tools, is they mention, well, actually he should, they mention all these gear tensions here. So basically they put a force gauge and measure the force in, I don't know, newtons or foot-pounds of force, and read it, and they basically tell you whether this is in spec. And that's rather important on the Beeches. Mine were all in spec, so that was a good thing. But it was good to see how that is performed. And it's a really simple, you know, force measurement gauge. And I suggest that you never have it done, get it done, because obviously landing gears are rather critical on the aircraft. Let's see. Oh, One more thing here that I had it fixed. Let's see if I can open this one-handed. Sorry about that. Stupid thing. See this exhaust clamp down there? See if I can point it with my finger. Right there. That exhaust clamp was installed incorrectly, meaning that the ears, let's see, the brackets were on the outside of that clamp. What happened with that is you could put your hand, put it on the exhaust, and it was, I wouldn't say loose, but you can definitely wiggle it a little bit. So I had that corrected. You can see now it's installed properly. So the clamp is on the inside of that bracket, so it's tight, basically holds the exhaust pipe tight. So check those clamps because you know, that all needs to be rather tight. And that was pretty much it, I think, for the engine compartment. Again, I'm going through the memory. You know, I just kind of winging it. This video, been doing it all my life, so there's no reason to be changing it right now and prepare. So anyway, landing gear, look at this. That's hours of back-breaking labor cleaning that thing. So there was really, okay, there was one thing, but I cannot show you because it's covered up. It's on the nose gear. There are these rods. You can take the cover off. Okay, and on that landing gear, he made sure that that bolt that holds that thing is tight. And the way you do it is you have to have the airplane off the landing gear, and with one foot you gotta be pushing that nose gear and make sure that the ball doesn't wiggle. Mine was a little loose, but not critical, so it wasn't like I had to have it addressed right away. And there's these landing gear rods, so I, again, cannot show you those, but these things need to be changed to a newer design. The newer design is already, how can I say it, pre-lubricated or sealed greased, and mine, there was one that never been changed. So I bought it, and annual's coming up next month. I'm gonna have it all done. Therefore, all my rods are gonna be basically brand new and of the new style. Nothing much on the landing gear here. Here's a cheap fix that completely was missed on my, actually I noticed that, but anyway, on the pre-purchase inspection my mechanic really didn't seem to care. Alright, see these bumpers? See these bumpers there? It's hard to see because I'm shooting into the light. Maybe I can shield this. There's a rubber bumper, rubber stopper. And mine was like painted, and it was, well, probably original. These things only cost $1.50 from Beech. And what they do, and number two, they were not adjusted properly. They're supposed to be, as the name suggests, bumping the flap. So when the flap is fully retracted, you should just push it on the flap and it's gonna bump against that stop. And mine were original, they were hard as a rock and not adjusted, so the flap wasn't making contact, or if it really wasn't providing the cushioning. So I had all that changed out because, well, you know, these cheap fix, and now the flaps. But speaking on the flaps, I'm gonna have to retract the flaps and show it to you in a second. My flaps, they found, were not quite adjusted properly, meaning that the flap was drooping just a tiny little bit. So the flaps, when they're retracted, they're supposed to be in line with the ailerons, okay? And they are just, I don't know, a degree or so down. So what that causes is, well, your airspeed probably is going to be a knot or so slower, and I'm gonna have, at the annual time, the flaps adjusted so that when they are fully retracted, they are in line with the aileron. There was no other rigging issues that Curtis observed on this aircraft other than, you know, this flap aileron. The airplane flies in a great straight and everything, so there's no rigging issues. I didn't think there were, but the flaps need to be adjusted just a little bit. Let's see, moving along. The spacing on this elevator is also needs to be adjusted. It's a little hard for me to show you this, but basically what needs to be done is they need to move the spacing a little bit so it's a little bit more uniform. It's more of a, I don't know if it's a cosmetic thing. It probably doesn't cost a lot of performance or anything, but it's just something that they've observed on the aircraft. I guess the reason why that probably happened is because these the elevator surfaces here have been converted to aluminum. As you know, Beech used magnesium on these, and they had some corrosion. So it was a very nice thing of Matt to, who was the guy that sold me the airplane, to convert these to aluminum, because it's not inexpensive and it's a very good thing to do. Moving right along here. These flaps, big bumpers, maybe I'll show it on this one. Yeah, this is probably gonna be a little bit better angle because no sun. Okay, again, you can see it over there. Make sure that you have a fresh one in there and that it's pliable, not painted over with 5 coats of paint. And then when the flap retracts, it bumps against it just a little bit. So there's like a little cushioning. You can almost feel it. You feel like a little pushing on the leading edge, oh, I'm sorry, trailing edge of the flap. You'll be able to see that movement. So that was another observation here of the aircraft. Again, he commended me on the fact that I had these structural bolts, and they are structural actually. In the first video I said they were not, but they actually are structural. The proper structural bolts installed. Again, Performance Aero sells those. Let's see. He mentioned about the static wicks. Not that I have the wrong ones, but if I have to have those changed, there is a special kind that I needed. Interior-wise, there was really nothing was commented other than apparently. Oh, I'll show you something else that you might find interesting. Apparently, he recommended that this thing would be cleaned. There's maybe just a little bit of corrosion on the inside. Probably not corrosion, just maybe dirt. And painted white, like my entry door. Apparently, Beech did not paint those. Left them like this. You know, it looks nice, kind of high-end, but is susceptible to corrosion. So, recommended that maybe I get that painted and cleaned, and that'll prevent any corrosion from happening. On the subject of the door, I was in Connecticut, flew to Connecticut for a flight sim convention, and departing from Bradley, which is the airport I flew in, it was windier than Dickens. I mean, it was gusting to probably 30 miles, 30 knots, maybe even more than that. Just really bad, gusty kind of a day. Well, had to depart. I mean, the weather, other than the gusty winds, was okay. So I was loading everything into the airplane, and by the way, this thing can haul all kinds of stuff. On Beech Talk, I made a post about this is a SUV of airplanes, because I had this thing pretty much filled in here. I took the rear seats out, and everything was within CG and plenty of weight, and everything fit in here. So had all kinds of pictures on Beech Talk. People put things like air conditioners in here. I'm talking for a house, and bikes and motorcycles and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, that's beside the point. But what I wanted to alert you about, so you don't make the same stupid mistake as I have, is when it's gusty like this. Well, it sounds probably obvious to you now, but it didn't at that time, because I was really, I don't know, preoccupied with just getting everything loaded properly. Make sure somebody holds the door, because what happened is a gust of wind caught this door, and that pin here snapped right off. Unfortunately, my wife caught the door and nothing happened, no damage. But this bracket, I had to have it replaced completely. As you can see, it's a brand new part here. Now, what I'll tell you is, if something like that happens and you need to find out what the part is and where to get it for cheap, again, that Beech Bonanza Society. See, I got my sticker here that I'm a member. It's the best thing you can do. And why? Because I called it, and within a few minutes, Bob Ripley was on the phone. He told me exactly where I should get it. He told me where I could get it less expensive and quickest to me, because, you know, obviously I didn't want to fly with this door not being secured like this. I had to have it fixed, and had that part from Wisconsin, which is closest to Indianapolis, for $130. And normal Beech price, I think, was closer to $400 or so. So invaluable advice, because not only he told me what part I needed, where to get it, and but also, you know, just got me squared away. And he told me, you know, don't screw around trying to have your mechanic change this rivet, because it's a special rivet, so you cannot just fix the rivet, have to replace the whole bracket. But anyway, so a couple points of advice here. One point is, get that Bonanza Society if you're not, because if that one phone call probably pay for the whole year membership. And number two, be careful with these doors in the windy conditions. Probably have to have this bolt adjusted again, because you see it's a little loose still. but at least the door is secure now. So just don't make the same mistake as I have. Let's see. You know, so other than the gear swings that they've done a lot, which obviously I cannot show you. Maybe I will retract the flaps right now, and I'll show you what I mean by the flap misalignment. There was really not much. Well, there were some other things that were there, but again, I probably mentioned most of them. So you can see I got away pretty inexpensively. So I'm going to retract the gear. I'm sorry, retract the flaps. Hopefully I won't retract the gear. And I will show you what I mean by the flap misalignment. But look what I got here coming. I'm going to have my FBO Metro install it tomorrow. That's my inside G3 engine analyzer that I was talking about. I've been kind of messing with the positions and different brands, but you know what? I have a pretty good vision. I don't wear glasses and relatively young still, so I'm just gonna have him yank this EGT gauge and put it right in there. I bought the adapter. Initially I was thinking about putting it right there under the clock, but somebody actually on my previous video commented I should get a backup attitude indicator electric one, or like an AHAR system, and that would have been a perfect spot for it. So I took this person's advice, thank you, and I'm actually gonna reserve this spot for my backup electrical attitude indicator, and therefore I don't want to really put my engine analyzer there. So I'll put it in here, and I checked somebody else's airplane that has in a similar position, and it wasn't a big deal to see it. So I think I'll be all right. And when I get old in 20 years, then I will change it out to something else. All right, bring the flaps up, and then I'll show you what I mean by the flaps misalignment here, so you can check your airplane. It's pretty easy to get it readjusted. All right, see this? See how this is just a little bit lower than that, and it shouldn't be. Ailerons are neutral. See how they're nice and flush here. You can run your hand. Cut myself. Anyway, and here, see, there's like a little step down, maybe 1/4 of an inch, maybe 8, maybe not even that much. Yeah. So basically, the limit switch needs to be adjusted, and then they're gonna come in a little bit more on both sides. That's it, and that's the fix. And let's go check the other side. See this one, maybe you don't see it as much. That's a little better maybe. But anyway, they both will be adjusted properly and problem will be solved. So that's it for the Beech. Let's see, how many hours do I have on this since I bought it? It's approaching 100 hours now. Yeah, and because I've flown it to East Coast, I've flown it all the way to California and back, and that trip alone was over 30 hours in flight time. So she's doing well. Oh, another thing I tell you, okay, based on the Curtis's recommendation, so I've been using this Exxon Elite 20 W50. I'll show you the bottle because I still have a whole stack of them. I've been using these Exxon Elites, and I think they were good oil, you know, these guys, but not for the Continental. And apparently, now this is what they told me, and you know, they are the experts. There's a starter adapter here on the starter. You know what that is, right? It goes between the starter and the motor, that thing over there. And that adapter has been known to slip if you're using that Exxon Elite oil. I guess maybe a little bit more, maybe a little less or more slippery, whatever the term you want to use. And therefore, they recommended I switch to Phillips, the Blue Bottle 20 W50, Blue Bottle cross country. And that's a mineral oil, and then add a pint of CamGuard for just additional, the chemicals, you know, that protect your engine. So that's what I did on the, I had to have an oil change done just recently because, you know, I was getting to 50 hours while I was on my trip, and I told him to put that blue, that Phillips oil. So again, if you're running that Exxon Elite, maybe you may want to research that and I'm just telling you what they told me. Yeah. They also told me that you should use a lot of those LPSs on the airplane. There are 3 of those. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. There's an LPS2. There's an LPS1. And then there is LPS3. All right, let's start with the number 3. Number 3 is a rust inhibitor. All right, and so that goes on your areas where you need to put the waxy, kind of, as you can see, soft, waxy, self-healing film. So bolts, for instance. Which bolts? No, the ones that are holding your wings together. Those, you might want to spray this, and I did that already. And you know how to get to them, right? I showed you on the first video. Just take those caps off. There's let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those bolts. Right there is the cap, over there underneath the wing. But they inspected everything was good. The drains, check those too. If they're plugged, use the straw to open them so the water can drain out of those tubs, because these bolts are like in the little tubs. Anyway, so that's number 3. For a lot of this stuff, everything else, you'll use an LPS2. That is a long-lasting oily film, basically like a multi-purpose lubricant. And the LPS1 is greaseless, so wherever you want to not attract some dirt, like the switches areas, you know, the rollers or whatever, where you don't want anything, you use LPS1. But for majority of the stuff, and I just want to concentrate on this, like all these bearings and all that stuff, hinges, you would use an LPS2. So get yourself that. And you see, I'm coming from a Trinidad, and Trinidad, believe it or not, you actually remove the control surfaces for lubrication. It sounds crazy, but it's really not. And the reason for that is they were designed like that. So there was some bolts, you could just take the aileron out, you can take the bearings, grease them, put it all back together. So I am not used to the fact that, you know, like on beaches and everything, you'll just go with a straw and squirt, and that's how you lubricate the control surfaces. Because I was just basically used to my mechanic taking all the control surfaces, I'm talking rudder, elevator, flaps, everything. Maybe not every annual, although it's recommended, maybe every 2 years, and just greasing, you know, physically with packing it with grease. So I have to pay attention now to this, and this is something you can do yourself. Just go around all the lubrication points. You go to the maintenance manual or even the operator's manual, POH, and then you can see where you need to lubricate. I'm talking like the hinges, you know, on the door, all that stuff you need to lubricate with these LPSs. So that's another thing that I already kind of knew about it, but in case you didn't, then I'm telling you something hopefully new. So hopefully you like this video as well as you like the first one, and I gave you something to think about and something to check on your own airplane, and give you some pointers, however valuable or invaluable they are. And again, please post your comments under the video. Maybe one of these days I'll do in-flight video when I feel like I have something to add, because there's so many excellent videos on flying techniques and this and that. That I really am struggling with what can I talk about. I mean, the plane freaking flies great. It cruises at 165 knots and burns 14 gallons of fuel. I mean, what else? What else can you want from the aircraft? And it's nice to easy to fly. So I'd rather concentrate on the owner maintenance stuff, which I didn't see a lot of. I mean, obviously a lot of stuff on the web in a printed form, on written form, but not a lot of videos. So long, and maybe I'll do another one of those if and when I find something interesting to say. Thanks.